Student learning outcomes. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to write an equation of a line given 2 points on a line. In this next example, we're asked again to write an equation of a line in standard form passing through the given points. Now here we're given 2 points. Recall the two things you need in order to write a line. You need to know the slope and you need a point. Now, even though they gave us 2 points, when we actually plug it into a formula, we're only going to be plugging in one of the points. What do we need the 2 points for? Well, you need the 2 points to first find out what the slope is. So to find the slope, remember the slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we have to take those 2 points and plug them into the slope formula. So when we do so, it's going to look like so. Remember, double negatives become positives. And on the bottom, when you're combining two negatives, if the signs are the same, keep the sign and add the numbers. So that's going to give us a slope of 3 over negative 4. And anytime the top or the bottom is negative, it makes the whole entire thing a negative, because a positive divided by a negative equals a negative. So we have a slope of negative 3/4. So now that we have everything we need to write our line, we know our slope, and we're going to use one of the points. It doesn't matter which point you use, both will give you the correct line. Let's go ahead and just use the second one, since the first time we used the first one, just to let you know it really doesn't matter which one you use. So that means we're using a slope of negative 3/4, and we're going to use the point negative 1, 1. So for those of you who prefer the slope-intercept form, you're going to remove the y and replace it with 1. Remove m and replace with negative 3/4. Remove x and replace with, yes, negative 1. Remember, you're not going to know what b is. When you use this formula, you're going to solve for b. So let's go ahead and plug in those given points so we can find out what b is. So here we have multiplication, a negative times a negative. That's going to make that a positive. And we know that 1 times any number is that same number. So negative 3/4 times negative 1 is just simply going to be 3/4, because a negative and a negative is a positive. So it's going to equal positive 3/4. However, to solve for b, to get b by itself, you're going to have to subtract negative 3/4 from each side. Now, if you'd like to simplify that even quicker, you can think of this 1 as being 4 over 4, because you know any number over itself equals 1. So 4 over 4, if you rewrite 1 as a fraction of 4 over 4, and you have the same denominator in that case. So that would be simply just 4, take away 3 on top, which will give you 1, keeping your denominator of 4, so that would equal 1/4. So b equals 1/4. Putting your whole line together, y equals negative 3/4 x plus 1/4. So again, all I was showing you there was that, yes, you could have rewrote the 1 as a fraction and then combine the fraction of 4/4 take away 3/4, which is 1/4. Let's go over to the right side here, and for those of you who prefer the point slope form, we're going to go ahead and plug in our values. We're going to remove y sub 1 and replace with 1. Remove m and replace with negative 3/4. remove x sub 1 and replace with -1. Recall double negatives become positives. We're going to use the distributive property on the right side. -3/4 times x is -3/4 x. -3/4 times +1 equals -3/4. Last step to solving this is to add 1 to each side. And when we combine a +1 with -3/4, we're going to get our same line of -3/4 x plus 1/4. And there you have it, your line in slope-intercept form. Now, what if you were asked to write the line in standard form? Recall standard form is where x is first, then y, and then the constant number is by itself on the right side. So to get that in standard form, I'm going to have to move -3/4 x from the right side of the equation over to the left side of the equation. And to do that, I'm going to have to add 3/4 x to each side. Now, even though it looks like it is in standard form, it is not the correct form of standard form because the coefficient of x cannot be a fraction or a negative. So we have a fraction here. How do we get rid of a fraction? Well, take the denominator and multiply all parts of the equation by the denominator so that we can clear the fraction. So our denominator is 4. We're going to multiply all parts of the equation by 4 so that we can get rid of the fraction. When we do so, it's going to look like so. Next, we're going to go ahead and do our cancellations. So on the first term and over on the right side, that term as well, we're going to cancel out the common factor of 4, and what we are left with here is 3x plus 4y equals 1, and that is our line in standard form.